It is a new week for me. We turn the page over on another great weekend of boxing. So it's my Monday morning, 6:30 a.m. Excuse me. I'm about 95% recovered from my week-long sort of chest cold that was given to me by a traveling mate of mine who was visiting from the UK. It was one of those things. He got sick on a plane, stayed with me for a week, and got me sick. So anyway, I'm good now. My voice sounds so much better. I feel so much better. Let's get into this. So as you guys start checking in, read the title. We're going to talk a little bit about what went down this past weekend in the sport of boxing. We're going to talk about our wins. We're going to talk about some adjustments I've made regarding betting apps here in Australia. I know a lot of you guys are also dealing with some of your betting apps in America with not being paid out for the Raymond Ford fight, which is interesting. I was getting messages on Instagram, emails, Discord, YouTube. For some reason, I think a lot of you guys have wagers and parlays that hadn't been paid out with other betting apps with a fight that we won, which is it's hard for me to understand that. So all the only advice I could give you is you're going to get paid out. There's no way a betting app, any sort of company, could not pay out a fight that you predicted and got right. And I've never heard this happening before. So I would just say be patient. I know a lot of you guys, we win our bets. We're like, where's our goddamn money? Because the funny thing is, the second we lose our bet, what happens? They take our money. So I just say be patient. Also, guys, as you're checking in, let's like this video. If you haven't joined yet, join our Johnny Says Boxing Insider membership. It's a monthly membership. It's only a couple dollars a month. That link is pinned in the comment thread here. As you see people in the comment thread with the blue stars, those are Johnny Says Boxing Insiders. What you do is you get access on YouTube, more features here, but more importantly, you become members to our Discord. The Discord was popping last night. I want to give a shout out to username Mayweather. He streamed the pay-per-view boxing event from Riyadh in our Discord, which I had no idea you could even do. And he also streamed the UFC in our Discord, which I had no idea you could do, which kind of, I didn't know you could do that. I kind of, I'm always a guy who pays for every event. So, but I know things get expensive. So I just want to say shout out to Mayweather. He had some of the boys. I didn't even know you could do that. And the stream was clear. It was perfect. So moving forward, as you're checking in, we're a couple minutes into the stream. Like the video. Let me know where you guys are tapping in from. We're gonna keep it unboxing, and then we'll talk about our bets, our wins and losses. But the first long parlay I gave you guys last week, if you're from America, you hit, meaning which is insane. I gave you guys the very first parlay. I think it was an 11-legger, which was a plus 330. We hit every fight. But if you're like a punk ass like me in Australia, in which the draw burns your parlay on some betting apps, you didn't hit. So Omar Trinidad, of the, I think, 13 fights we picked, drew. Now, like I said, if you were in America, you would have won. So tip your bartender, right? That's one of our, we won a lot this past weekend. We hit our long parlay. If you're from America, you won. If you're in Australia, switch betting apps to Bet365 because Sportsbet said we didn't win because Trinidad drew, and due to Sportsbet only offering three-way betting, meaning the odds are a little juicier, but if it's a draw, you lose, you lost. So there is a betting app out of Australia called Bet365 offered to us. So I switched all my boxing bets to Bet365 so that parlay would have still won. Secondly, second hit we hit, Kanzu. I covered it. I didn't feature Kanzu on the channel in terms of a Stats Don't Lie video, but if you would have been tapping into our live streams, I would have told you to take him at $1.47. He fought in China. We hit on that. The only boxing fight I missed, if I lived in America, I would have went 100% with boxing, by the way. But the only fight I missed on was the draw, the Pro Box card. Now, the fights in Saudi, we hit all of those. So if you guys would have listened to me, we hit Ray Ford, we hit Hergovich, we hit Nick Ball, and we hit Moses. And then we hit a method of victory ticket. We called a lot of we all did. Moses by knockout. We got Hergovich by decision. We nailed that. We got Nick Ball by decision. We nailed that. I gave you guys the Nick Ball by decision early last week. I think we got $3.30 on that. And so boxing really treated us really well. We hit method of victories. We hit our long parlays. We hit our locks. So all in all, we're still on a roll. My 21 fight win streak in the UFC came to a crashing halt. Guys, I told you all week though, I make all my money on the UFC on fight nights. I gave you guys forewarning, not the pay-per-views. It's always harder, personally, what I think, to hit parlays on the pay-per-views because there's so much parity in the sport of MMA. The matchups, you never know what's going on. There were some crazy knockouts, 2 spinning elbow knockouts, insane fights, wrestling, grapple sex fights, if you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, the UFC, I never bet heavy on the UFC, by the way. I only feature those fights on the live streams because you guys ask. Even when I hit 2 weeks in a row, I'm only putting like $50. So 21 in a row. This past weekend, the UFC, I missed on our locks. I gave you guys a 3-leg lock. 2 of the 3 lost. We should have lost 3 of the 3, to be honest with you. Carini Silva probably should have lost. Got gifted a split decision. I did kind of have her winning the second and third. But either way, dude, Chase Hooper lost to Alexander Hernandez. And then we lost the other one. Fucking 98-year-old awkward MMA. My guy who fought Demetrius Johnson for the world title in 2016 beat Kaya Sakura. And so I didn't, like I said, going into the UFC this past week, and I was telling all you guys, don't bet heavy, don't take it too serious. If you want an entertainment bet, sprinkle it on it. But moving forward, I hit all the prelim fights on the UFC. So I had already won money, but the main event, I got slaughtered. I literally hit a reverse Uno on the main event on all 5 fights. I went over 5 on the main event. On the main event, UFC, missed all of them, but I really didn't put too much thought into it, and I was doing it for fun. So anyway, moving forward, let me know how you guys did. You guys are tapping in right now. Everybody in the house, appreciate you, James. What's up, buddy? DJ in the house. Bet USA sucks. Julius, Bet USA is great. So I got 2 guys on the stream saying Bet US is good, and then somebody saying Bet US is great. Big Shadow. Money Meech in the house. Money Meech live from the VA, still not paid from the Ray Savage fight. Isn't that insane? Hand History Vault. Good day, everyone. DJ. Bet US limited him. Adu laying a few moneyline bets for Wednesday. Yes. Bro, we got some Wednesday fights in Australia. I'm going to the fights. And I'm looking at there's some great odds for Sydney, Wednesday night in Sydney, guys. I'm going to talk about those fights in a second. Mar the Prince is back with a star. Appreciate you. Another interesting week of boxing. Can't wait to hear that about it. Yes. Lucas Body, Gutierrez is a great fight. Rafferty Chamberlain's a great fight. Those odds are insane. DJ, Boston Mikey, what's up, buddy? Can't wait to hear the breakdowns. For sure, we got some good fights coming up, Boston Mikey. And I'm going to do my first breakdown. I got to feature Nikita Zoo. I got to feature Zarafa. But, guys, there's this fight, Ahmad Reda versus Bruno Tarimo. Guys, go to your book right now and see if you have odds on a fight that's on the undercard of the Nikita Zoo fight. Ahmad Reda, R-E-D-A is his last name. He's a 6-0 prospect in Australia. Taking on Bruno Tarimo, a South African Aussie, over 30 pro fights. Look at Tarimo's resume, guys. Tarimo has beaten and fought some really good fights. Paul Fleming, Billy Dibb, Zelfa Barrett, and he's the underdog. So I sent some feelers out to some of the boys, some of my sort of insiders here in Australia. When they get back to me, I'll let you know. Bruno Tarimo is a dog right now, and I'm thinking I'm thinking the dogs might be barking in Sydney with that fight. We'll see. Good thing I went heavy. Moses 1-3. Moses looked great. Christian Morales, what's up, buddy? Big week ahead. Boston Mikey 4 Nova was close. So ball and good. Yeah, I just watched Ford and Nova last night. I had ball, I gave Ford, Ford won. It was closer than I thought it would be. And then I had Goodman, I had Nicky Ball winning either 116 to 112 or 115 to 113. I thought he did better in those later rounds. He was landing the more significant shots. I told you guys Sam Goodman was going to be tough, though. I just knew that if Goodman, because Goodman lacked a little bit of pop, I wasn't going to take him. Even though the odds, the bookies were trying to tempt us with taking the dog. Yeah, Hamzat Chimaev did what he does. I mean, it's wild how, you know, Dana sometimes will call that style, incomprehensible. Like, that style is not a fun style to watch. I don't ever remember Hamzat being that limited actually with the striking. They counted those tap strikes, but he had Dricus's back the entire time. Pretty much grapple effed him, wrestle effed him the entire time. He couldn't stop him. I told you about Protas. Yeah, Protas is nasty. That knockout Protas had against Jeff Neal was so insane. Dude, the knockouts were insane, guys. Oh my God. Dude, Lerone Murphy's knockout at Aaron Pico was insane, dude. Pico's boxing looked amazing. Dude, Aaron Pico's left body rip is so nice. His boxing is so sharp and his wrestling is so sharp and he's so fast. But this is why MMA is so tough to bet on, because usually, when watching Lerone Murphy walk Aaron Pico onto that elbow was beautiful. He used Pico's aggression against him. He almost landed two strikes similar. 30 seconds into the fight, Lerone almost lands a knee that would have ended the fight, but it caught him in the body. And he went for the elbow about a minute earlier before he landed it. But man, that was an insane Protas' knockout. Freaking Lerone Murphy stopping Pico was insane. There were others too. I actually I know this probably won't happen, but if they make the Fluffy Hernandez fight versus Chimaev, I think Fluffy would give him a run for his money. I'm still waiting for my Ray Ford tickets. That's insane. Mara Sky fights this weekend. May play her to win by TKO, given the caliber of opponent she's fighting. James Drummond, I put $10 gone at 60 seconds. Moses fight. What? Did you get it? Oh, that would have been insane, James. I didn't even know if there's a $10 gone in 60 seconds fight. You missed it by 20 seconds. Heartbreaking. Those are the breaks, boys. Boston Mikey had Ford 6-4 and Ball 7-5. Yeah, similar Boston. Good MVP. Yep, so a girl I used to manage is on that MVP card. She's not going to win, but I'm just name dropping. She's from Sydney. Robert Floss, easy work on Hergovich Ball. Damn, you boys aren't getting paid on the Ford fight is insane to me. Julius Ford won't be champ at 130. I heard Murphy showed up to Chicago on Wednesday. Mate, whatever that was, Aaron, like I said, Lerone Murphy's composure in the chaos was super impressive. Lerone Murphy's undefeated for a reason. His timing was super impressive. Since we're talking about gambling on fights, it would have been good if you picked Danny Green to knock out Roy Jones in round one when they fought. The odds were 33-1. Did you? Damn. Ronnie boy, the Rons. What's up, big fella? Luke gets back tomorrow. I think we're going to the fights on Wednesday. And we got to talk about, Unk. So I'm sure he filled you in on why I haven't posted anything yet, but it's still there. Robert Flores, can't wait to see your breakdown of Rafferty. Guys, Rafferty and Chamberlain is a dog fight. Robert, have you looked at the odds right now on Rafferty and Chamberlain? Because I got if you guys pull your odds up, Jack Rafferty's $1.34. All right, good, Rons. We'll talk about that Wednesday. Like I said, Luke lands tomorrow morning, and then we're going. So we'll see you there. Robert says I had 1,000 on Andy Ruiz over Joshua, 11-1. Nice. That's a good pick right there. Big Shadow, what's up, bro? UFC in China this weekend. Yep. Just know Zhang and Aljo Parlay will feed generations. Yeah. The kid fighting Johnny Walker is legit. The kid, Johnny Walker, mate, they just put... You got to think Dana's like, hey, mate, we'll keep you in the UFC. You're instant entertainment. You have a fan base. But we're not going to give you any favorable matchups. We know you have no problem with getting knocked out cold. We're going to give you up-and-coming knockout artists. And from here on out, you'll be the B-side. But, barring a super horrific injury, you could just keep getting knocked out, and we're going to keep you on the card. And we'll give you co-main and main event features. You just got to travel to China and face a goddamn animal. And hats off to Johnny. He does it time and time again. UFC is such a brutal organization. MMA is such a brutal sport. It was only, yesterday when Johnny was, such a hype prospect, and then he did the worm and tore his shoulder. It was really never the same guy. Julius, 4 boxing cards this week. Julius, we got 2 of them in Australia, so I think we got more than 4. Because off the top of the head, we got 2 in Australia. We got 1 on Wednesday, 1 on Saturday in Australia. We got the MVP card in Florida. We got the card in the UK. I think we have more than 4. Yeah, so Rafferty's minus 250, guys. That's going to be a tough fight. I think that fight's a lot closer than that. Rafferty versus Chamberlain's 100%. I'm going. Okay, Robert. So, Robert, we spoke on Instagram. So Loner is he's from the UK. I think his mom's Chinese. His other side is either Irish or English, and he's fighting my boy Charles Johnson. It's a tough fight, man. Loner is a really young, really intense prospect, but Charles Johnson, mate, I think he's the only guy to beat Josh Van in the UFC. He's a 5'9" flyweight. He's an Olympian, former Olympian in what's that? He was an Olympian in the track and field event with the carriage. I forget what it's called. My point is some of the best cardio in MMA. Charles is tough on the ground. Charles is awkward on the feet. He cut his teeth. Did a striking at Tiger Muay Thai. His cardio's through the roof. He's a tough out, man, and Charles is a friend of mine. But I've had my eyes on Loner since he broke through. I remember watching him on the regional scene in the UK. Loner Kavanaugh is his last name. So that's a tough fight. I'm probably, like I told you on Instagram, Robert, I'm probably going to not bet on that fight. Walker been zapped so many times. Yeah, Walker Walker has been tapped. Yeah, Zhang, Eljo, Loner. Eljo, man. I love when Eljo fights. It's crazy, Robert, is when you get these former champions or these guys who grind all the way their whole career to become a UFC champion, and they're not really beloved. Like, I felt like Eljo never got his flowers. He's one of those guys people probably like more when he retires. But super athletic, man, super talented. His grappling, it was finally good to see him go up a division. He was killing himself making the weight. More interested to see your breakdown of Sterling Ortega, Pavlovich Acosta. Great fights, man. Great fights. I really think that Ortega, T-City really has never been the same guy since he had that public spat and that very public breakup with Cortez, and then also, some of the discipline issues he's had in the past in terms of out of the octagon. But talent-wise, how do you forget that flying fucking triangle he put on Cub Swanson? That was like probably almost 8 years ago now. But T-City at one time, man, was all the rage. Just his talent. The thing I've always never, T-City never really. There's these guys that you look at all their God-given ability, their skill set, and it's like, mate, do some strength and conditioning, bro. Like, why aren't you deadlifting? Why aren't you squatting? Why aren't you doing any sort of S&C training? Ortega, I'm talking about. So when he gets in there against like a more physically imposing guy, he looks watery and wiry, or like a noodle, like a wet noodle. Aljo, I think Aljo's going to put him on that grown man. There's more than 4. There's 6. Yeah, so I figured that. That was just off the top of my head. Rafferty's going to destroy him. Big Shadow, Pavlovich has been on a decline, and Waldo has been in favor. Yeah, I like Waldo because he was a pitcher. And, what isn't Waldo Cortez, the kid from the Dominican who used to pitch? I think he was in the Cincinnati Reds organization. 6 cards. Hell yeah, we're eating. We're going to be eating. Jake Wiley, Dib, very good, decent matchup. Yusuf Dib, the thing about Yusuf and different to his, older brother Billy, who's a world champion, is Yusuf won't be that defensive minded. Watch Yusuf Dib fight. He'll stand and trade with you. Very nice kid too. I remember I interviewed Yusuf when he was a 1-0 pro. This would have been in 2016. My first podcast in Australia. It was called the Vision Board Podcast. Billy Dib, I think, was episode 3. I also interviewed, that's when I used to interview like athletes of all sorts. David Reynolds, a guy who won the Bathurst race car driver was on that show. Um, Gary Vaynerchuk I interviewed on that show. Grant Cardone I interviewed on that show. So I used to interview just sort of people who do interesting shit. But I remember talking to Yusuf when he was a teenager. It's good to see him have a go at a pro career. Van versus Johnson rematch will be lit. I agree. It's crazy, the way Charles Johnson has never been, hasn't been ranked in the top 15. They keep giving Charles Johnson these really tough prospects. He's just become kind of a gatekeeper, man. Charles Johnson, he could compete with any flyweight in the world. Former LFA champion, very competitive, super talented, super awkward. And the thing about Charles Johnson is he's a 5-round guy. You put Charles Johnson in a main event or a 5-round fight, he's gonna be a tough out for anybody in the world at 125. My potential upsets are Barral and Cordova on MVP card Saturday. Robert Flores, my line, Eljo open minus 300, minus 250. See, that's the thing, Robert. You give me Charles Johnson at plus money, man, versus a young prospect, dude. I don't know, dude. I like Charles Johnson that fight. Rafferty by knockout on the way up. Let's see, are we getting any odds right now on Rafferty on the knockout? Yeah, we are. Rafferty by knockout is $3.50 history vault. Are you going to roll with that? Julius, how about Lucas Body? Body's fighting. I don't think we're getting odds yet on the Body fight. Let's see. Yeah, Body's $1.16, guys. Body's fighting Gutierrez. I think that fight's a lot closer. Right now they have Gutierrez at $5.80. Evelev, I did think Evelev beat Eljo. Yeah, that guy's a tough out too, man. He's a big boy too. Body gonna win his fight. Evelev is a champion waiting for sure. His style's insane. After John Silva smashes Lopez. Yeah, Robert, Floss is talking about the UFC upcoming fights. I think I agree with him on John Silva. I was never high on Diego Lopez. I mean, I was actually more impressed with Diego Lopez sort of overachieving in his UFC career. I think that John Silva takes all that momentum. Not that, I mean, John Silva obviously has his own momentum. In my opinion, he's like, I talked about last week, Vanderlei Silva reincarnate. Lucas Body isn't a tough, but Gutierrez is a washed up, in my opinion. The question is, can Body stop him? Yeah, it's going to be how sexy do we want to get with our method of victories. Umber, Chase, I know, dude. Dude, what do you mean? Whoever bet Cannonier is a fool. Cannonier won the 3rd round. Chase Hooper and Kai choked, I agree. But if that fight goes 5 rounds, Cannonier beats MVP. So whoever picked Cannonier is a fool. Screw you, mate. I picked him. Jared, if that goes 5 rounds, Jared beats him. Jared beat him in the 3rd. MVP had no that was the path to victory. I thought Jared was gonna, go after that a little bit early. I had Alex Hernandez. Gutierrez is trash. Addo, talk Nova. Nova wasn't taking the 4 fight serious. Yep. Nova looked real serious, didn't he? Well, at least it didn't come back to burn us, Addo. You know what I'm saying? Least, but Nova, people were acting like Abraham Nova was 80 years old. 5'9". Nova, wasn't he? He's only 31. I think he's only 31. You knew he was going to come prepared. Anybody who walks in with his own mascot isn't going to roll. And he's never kind of rolled over and died. I said going into the fight as well, even though I had Ford. I'm not one of these guys to tell you Ray Ford's a world beater. I'm not one of these guys to tell you Ray Ford's a future Hall of Famer. I just felt like he was going to be a little bit too much for Nova, and that's what we saw. This is the layout for Body. The odds will suggest that too. Body's a big favorite against Gutierrez. Trying to get him to, they're trying to get Body big fights, right? History. Kane, what's up, Kane? You thinking of the Wednesday night no limit card? Sent you a bit of info. Kane, my guy. So Kane's gonna be Kane has amateur nationals coming up in November. We need to be getting Kane on. Kane, you got to start right now. I'll put it in paper. We need you back squatting. We need to put you on a 10-8-6-4-2 back squat routine in terms of progressive overloading your 10 rep max set, and then increasing periodization from 10 to 2. Do the same thing with your deadlifts. And then we need you to do some asymmetric squats, so split split lunges, sprint lunges, all these sort of things, working on your asymmetric strength left and right. What I always tell young fighters is our strength and power doesn't come from here. Our strength and power comes from our hips, our feet, our glutes. Our hands are only an outcome of what the bottom half is doing. Core as well, gets you doing hundreds of hanging leg and knee raises, planks, that sort of thing. But I'll put that in paper for you, mate. Mar, don't sleep on Mark Chamberlain. Feel someone writing him off due to the Padley loss. It's not a terrible loss. Still feel the boxing world overlooks Padley. I got Padley. Dude, Padley versus Bellotti. That's a fun fight. No, Claggett's out. They still have Claggett and Ortiz up on some books. But didn't we get word that Steve Claggett had to pull out? Floss still hasn't been paying on Ford. A lot of the boys haven't. It's wild that they're not paying out on Raymond Ford yet. That would just drive me insane. That would just turn me into a legit obsessive compulsive. I would just keep looking at my app. Did it go yet? Did it go yet? And then that would cause anxiety. And then that would cause like neuroticism. And then stay away from, you know what, Robert? Put the phone away. Don't look at the app for like 3 days. I guarantee you'll get your money. I heard Chilltown saying he had a Claggett for the upset. Yeah. TJ's coming on the show, by the way, the end of the week. So Chilltown Boxing, TJ, he's going to be doing a live stream with me my Friday, which is your Thursday in America. So Aussies, our Friday. History Vault says, I wouldn't be surprised to see if Gutierrez gets knocked out. Seems like that's what the setup is, isn't it? Guys, let's like this video. You see the boys with the blue stars. Join the Discord, a couple bucks a month. Get access. Some great, dude, I just realized this weekend, obviously other than joining the community and being able to see what everybody's bets are, professional bettors in there. Dude, Muscle Brown put 50 grand. This is why we got to go to Bet365. If Muscle Brown would have put the 50 grand on my sports bet app, he would have lost. But because he used the draw doesn't burn his bets, he won 10 grand. Would have won 23 grand on our locks. But goddamn Omar Trinidad drew. But I'm just happy for Muscles that the draw didn't destroy his ticket. Tellus versus Barao. I'm going to take the over. Salute. Koki, what's up, buddy? Barao can win. J-Rock used to be so good. Guys, boxing's a brutal sport. One fight could change the trajectory of your career. One punch could really, we already know that. But, I mean, the training camps add up. How you're living your lifestyle outside the ring adds up. How you fight, your fight style adds up. That's why I think it's so impressive that Manny Pacquiao came back and looked how he did against Barrios, considering Pacquiao's fight style throughout his career. Aggressive fight style, gets hit a ton, been knocked out cold before. At 44 or at 46, I thought for sure his neurology would be fried, his central nervous system would be shot. He wasn't obviously as twitchy and quick as he used to be, but it was still there. So when J-Rock used to be good, boxing's a brutal sport. What did wasn't it Bert Sugar? Bert Sugar, old boxing historian, once said that every time a boxer goes into the ring, he leaves a piece of him inside there. Claggett was supposed to be Teo's. Claggett fought Teo real well, mate. I thought Claggett won more rounds than the judges gave him. Steve Claggett fought Teofimo Lopez really well. Teo was supposed to fight Gio. Body Gutierrez is interesting. Gutierrez has good wins over Alvarado and Rocky. Yeah, people aren't really giving him a chance, Mar. Koki, Teo not having any fights scheduled. Guys aren't young forever. I know. What do you guys make of this recent Shakur Stevenson and Lamont Roach chat? People were, I woke up this morning with a bunch of messages. It looks like that Shakur is trying to fight Roach. We got super chats. Daniel Vega with the super chat. Broke even this week, baby. We still alive. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated. Guys, if you hit, let me know. I'm catching up to all these comments, guys. Don't disrespect Body. Baru's chat's going off. Shushu versus Ball. We're almost in September. Yeah, time's flying, guys. Time's flying. Remember when they made Santine versus Norman? Yeah, because Santine was coming off that fight against Rocha, And Santana was the favorite, and Norman stopped him late too. That was a fun fight. Barboza fight was in March. History says don't disrespect Body, multiple-time national champion. I don't think people were disrespecting Lucas Body. I didn't see anybody in the chat disrespect him. I think Lucas Body's one of my locks going into the weekend. I'm high on Lucas Body. He's one of those guys that it's like no one, for instance, I'm not comparing different divisions, but when you're a guy with a lot of when your potential is turning into results, it's tough to get fights. We know that. Like, for instance, we just saw Moses Ituama. Who the hell wants to fight Moses now? You know, it's tough for people going to put their hand up to fight. Nobody really knew who Lucas was going into that Ashton Silva fight. And the way he won, people don't want to. That's what boxing needs to change, man. We want to see the best fight the best. GAR kind of somewhat confirmed he's in negotiations with Hitchens. I'd love to see that fight. Sanchez went 4-0. Congrats, no cap, Johnny. I deleted my MGM app until they resolve it. Good, Money Meech. Let's go, Johnny. Great day of fights yesterday. We're eating, Sal Blog Talk. We're eating. Heard another boxing pod say they think Kakashi beats Ford. I don't see it. Mar, I told you guys a month ago, until I sit with the tape, I was taking Kakashi over Ford too. I was taking Kakashi over Ford. But then again, you guys remember last week, 2 weeks ago, I said I was taking Goodman over Ball, and then I sat with the tape, and then I was like, nah, I'm wrong. Nicky Ball's going to beat Goodman. So I unless that goes official, unless any of these fights go official, it's tough for me to give you my exact prediction. Yankiel Rivera is tough. He's a huge favorite in this fight. Rivera's odds are so wide, it's like I might stay away from that fight. Boston May, that's a sweat. 50K to win 10 is wild. Well, it was 50K to win 23, Boston. It was 50K to win 23, and then the draw on the Omar Trinidad took that down from 23 to 10. I'm pretty sure that's how it went. What you're saying about power. Wait to see Crawford's glutes, hamstrings, and quads. He's slightly bull-legged as well. Can't wait for September 13th. Crawford wins. I'm right. I'm at 40K. Oh, shit. Robert Floss in the house. I'm a bit buzzed. One of my favorite guys, man. You know, if longer you're on this channel, you know, I'm a huge Bud fan. Just how he goes about his business. You know, how he grew from 35 to, you know, just even getting this fight at 68 is insane. I still like the Ricky Burns fight, man. One of my favorite Bud fights is Crawford versus Burns at 35. What's good, Jay? DJ Green in the house. J-Rock was always chinny. Daniel Vega, if he lost that Omar Trinidad bet, I'm sure he would have had shown. Nah, they never show us the losses. Come on, boys. You guys know that. The big dogs. Where's Chilltown? I want to see Chilltown's losses. See, that's why, from my perspective, you guys have all my receipts. Like, even if you guys didn't notice on YouTube, at the end of each fight weekend, I put up with the green ticks and the red X's who won and who didn't lose. But it's betting, boys. Nobody wants to show you their losses. That's why the channel, at least we have a live stream receipt. And I don't delete any of my videos. Go to my playlist, Fight Predictions. If you go to Fight Predictions, my playlist, those are the Stats Don't Lie videos. Those are every single one of my predictions. So I'd like to see somebody add up my winnings, like my percentages. I would have to say I'm probably at 90% on my Stats Don't Lie videos. DJ, Texas OSU under, you're welcome. I don't know, man. I'm expecting the Buckeyes to put up 40 on Texas. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Go Buckeyes. Buckeyes about to put up a 40 spot on Texas. You crazy. Unless they beat them 40-0. Boston, I think people might be shocked. Call me crazy, but Shakur Roach. Shakur Roach, I'm in for Shakur Roach, guys. Nunes beats all of them. 130 Sugar Nunes. Love that dude. Love watching him fight. I think, nobody wants to fight Sugar Nunes. Like I said, I would have taken Kakashi to beat Ford, and Kakashi openly said that he wasn't going to fight Nunes. He took the Lee Wood fight for the money. Fair enough. Why not take more? You're 36 years old. Why not take more money? And went out there and put on a great performance against Lee Wood. Former world champion at 126. I think Goodman performed better against Ball. Dude, Sammy Goodman's a great boxer. We knew this. We knew this going in. Nobody in my camp was saying Goodman was going to get washed. And like I said, if Goodman had just a little bit of pop, I was taking Sammy to win, but he just didn't have enough to get that style off of him. And Ball, man, Ball doesn't get enough credit either. Nick Ball, man, how he fights is super entertaining, puts himself in harm's way. He is a fighter. We want to see more of that, don't we? We want to see more fights. Pedro, Shishkin versus Iglesias should be for an interim title. Those are two bangers. That's a good fight at 68. Two guys nobody really talks about. Tsutsumi, yep. I like Iglesias. Money Meach, I disagree. Ford beat Ball up. Bloodier than him, and he was admittedly weight drained. Yeah, I'd have to rewatch both of those fights. What's up, Havelock? Havelock, fine. I started watching your Spence Crawford videos. Yeah. All right, Robert. You know what time it is then. See, that's why Mr. Floss, I'm struggling with because we got to give you a breakdown in 3 weeks. Crawford Canelo. I'm just struggling because the coach in me, the lifelong, boxing athlete in me, it's tough for me to get past the 168 weight class. You know what I'm saying? It's tough for me to, yeah, it's a tough, dude, it's a tough hill to climb for Crawford. Will Canelo odds tighten? The Canelo odds are insane right now. So Ortiz is fighting Ambrose Batista. I think Iglesias gets a stoppage. Mar the Prince, can't wait to have Mabili. Dude, Christian Mabili, Lester Martinez, good dude. The thing about Lester is we're really going to get to know what we got with him, right? We really don't know. We really don't know what we got with Lester. The record looks good. The camp looks good. The hype on him looks good. Mabili is growing into his own. We know what to expect with Christian Mabili. I think everybody's going to expect a firefight. We're going to see what happens. Ohio State, Clemson. Ford wants to fight Nunes. Did Ray Ford say he wants Sugar Nunes? I mean, that gives him a title shot. Hats off to Raymond Ford, 26 years old, fighting. Raymond Ford's puts his hand up, doesn't dodge smoke. He wants an opportunity to become a 2-division world champion. That's a tough fight against Sugar Nunes, mate. DJ Green, Mabili versus Martinez is going to be fire. It is going to be fire. How do you guys see that one going? How do you guys break down Mabili Martinez? Anybody here picking Lester? Shushu will beat Ball. Shushu would have to fight Nick Ball. I like Bruce Carrington. We'd have to see. It's weird how Nick Ball gets no love. That's a bit, you guys. I like Carrington too. See, I think, let's see some unified fights. Let's see Rafa versus Nick Ball. I think Rafa, I don't see many people beating Espinoza at 26. Because Nick Ball's a champ. The champions at 126. Shushu's on the cusp. Do you think Shushu beats Rafa Espinoza? How about Shushu versus Espinoza? Who wins that? I actually don't see Shushu beating Ball after that. Yeah, I don't know if Shushu would have enough. Shushu could crack, though. I want to see Carrington mature a little bit more in terms of, his willingness when sometimes he steps off of the gas. He starts with his foot on the gas. His bet, I like how he looked against Dana Coolwell. Shushu's overhyped. Sagawa is fighting this weekend. Why is he ducking the rematch? I don't see Shushu being that much better or good. I'd like to see Sam Goodman versus Shushu Carrington. Who do you think wins that fight? Sammy Goodman or Bruce Carrington? See, I would probably take Goodman over Carrington, which is, I don't know. We'll see. I think Carrington right now in a lot of people's eyes is kind of how Hitchens was before Hitchens stopped George. Shushu, people are still waiting. They want to see him really fight up to his potential. Ortiz and Tellez are locks this week. If you like Canelo, you better grab him now. Martinez versus Mabili, great fight. He recovered later in the fight. David Eister in the house tapping in because from what I remember, that fight, Shishkin nearly stopped Skull. If Martinez gets there, his last-minute pull-out champion. Havelock, Ford versus Nunes would be an easy in-house fight between matchroom fighters. Credit to Shishkin, too. Afro Jam Ball does get love in the UK, but we all know he keeps dragging guys up from 122. He's a small dude. Nunes' next opponent is awful. Shouldn't even been made. Shushu gets stopped by Rafa. I think so, too. Ball is the perfect style for Shushu Carrington. Yeah, we'll see. Good fights, man. It's a good chat. I like that. We definitely have an educated chat here because not many not many live streams are gonna be chatting about the 126 division, man. This is why I love my channel and the live stream. You boys know what you're talking about. Mar the Prince, you think those migraines were real or a cop out to take his fight instead? Madrimov did something similar to fight Virgil instead of Boacek. Man, I never want to think that a fighter migraines are a real thing in boxing, but you never know. We never know what the promoter. We never know how deep the roots are with the promoters. You know what I mean? How deep the pockets go in terms of the power and the pull and the suggestion that the promoters have on the fighters these days. I'd like to, you know why I'd like to think that they were real, because just out of a karmic responsibility, the idea that you would fake something that's health related for a business move, I don't think a fighter would do that. I'd like to not think a fighter would do that. Afro, that ball doesn't get about enough. David Eister, Mikey, I kind of agree. Christopher Diaz isn't shit. Christopher Diaz could fight. Who said? I must have missed some. The chat's going off. Christopher Diaz versus Sugar Nunez. It's a good fight. Diaz is going to be there, but Sugar Nunez is a really tough style. You're talking about counterpunching versus counterpuncher. Espo versus Goodman. Shushu. Pedro, that fight Lester had was tough, and to prepare and recover in that short amount of time. Are you guys looking at any of the fights this Wednesday in Australia? I want to see if your betting app, guys, allows you to bet on Ahmad Rita. Check out Ahmad Rita versus Bruno Tarimo. See if you guys are allowed to bet on that. I want to know. I want to hear your opinion. Randvar Litter and new. There he is. He's talking about our boy Hamzat. I agree, Sam would outbox Shushu. I like Sam versus Carrington. Reese Halim, TJ Downey, Miguel Flores. Yep, all the guys that Sam beat. Just like Shakur versus that Cuban. Shakur and Shushu need comers. Carlos Sanchez in the house with his NCAA picks. Take UNLV over Idaho State. Yep, these are this first week, first few weeks in college football, boys. I make a killing because of what Carlos is saying. The money lines, you could take Ohio State, obviously they're playing Texas, but a lot of these big schools are playing Sisters of the Poor teams, and they allow you to bet on them. Randvar, yeah, so I'm thinking right now, I sent some messages out, guys, for the Wednesday night fights. Ahmad Rita is a guy who's 6-0. He's a 6-0 pro in Australia. He's a big favorite against a 30-fight veteran in Bruno Tarimo. And Bruno Tarimo has big wins, dude. He has wins over Fleming. He has wins over Bilal Dib. He has wins over, I think he beat Zelfa Barrett. He's battle-tested South African vet. So I sent some messages out this morning. When I get those back, I think we might have an underdog on our hands. TJ, what up? TJ, you're coming on the stream late week, right? Chilltown in the house. Yeah, you're coming on the stream late week. You said we're going to talk about that MVP card. I know you got some action on the MVP card from what I remember from the Discord. I think you're waiting on a couple to come through. Pedro, what we talking? We're just recapping the weekend, TJ, the fights. The chat's talking about potential fights for Nick Ball, talking about the 130-pound division. We got some boys dipping in with the NFL and college football. History Vault, Johnny, we need your college and NFL picks. Do we go there? Do we put a separate Discord channel for our college football picks? God damn, we're turning into degenerates out here, aren't we? This is the part in the movie where it says 1 year from now, and we're gambling on esports and punk ass slap fighting. No, we gotta have boundaries, boys. NCAA though is my wheelhouse. Has anybody heard news about Navarrete versus Suarez? The only news I heard is the news you heard, Afro, that they're supposed to fight again. Charlie Suarez, he was coming on. Oscar should get my boy Darius Fulgham a dance partner. I know, man. They just throw away guys. DFG had a tough fight against Bektemir. Robert Floss, be good. Everybody talking about Tank and Roach. Johnny, we have a China card. There's a lot of fights, boys. TJ Suarez got screwed. He did, TJ. Now, granted, I had Navarrete, so I won money. So in the heat of the moment, I was like, yeah, we got our dub. But you rewatch the fight and you watch how that fight was trending, and then obviously you know what happened with the cut and how that played out. Charlie Suarez impressed me, man. I just didn't think Suarez was going to be that tough. I should have known because Suarez came here to Australia and beat an extremely tough and durable Paul Fleming. I don't think internationally Fleming's not a big name, but here in Australia, you look at his Olympic pedigree, you look at who he's fought. I think that's Fleming's only loss and hasn't fought since. Charlie Suarez, man, he knows how to operate in the ring. Espinoza is moving up in weight. Is he moving up in weight? Did they announce it? You had Suarez, yeah. Had Dennis to beat Nav, too. Yeah, damn, that would have sucked then, especially how it ended, TJ. So, History Vault, did Espinoza announce that, or are we just assuming because he's 31, 6'1", fighting at 126? I want to see him unify at 26. I want to see Rafa fight, you know, some of the other names at 26. I wish we had tournaments where the champions would fight champions, but I'm not in control, right? Mar the Prince, did it surprise anyone that Ramos is moving up in weight? Did he say he's moving up? So Ramos left 54? When did that happen? That did surprise. He is young too, though. Jesus Ramos, tough for him to get fights. 160 is a little dry. I mean, Alam Hanalei is not going to stay at 60 forever. Alam Hanalei, he's had issues before making weight. He got rushed to the hospital not too long ago. So Alam Hanalei is like the boogeyman at 60. Lara is like, 91 years old. 60 is a little dry. A little dry is kind of being, kind. So maybe that is a good move. And you got to think Xander Zayas isn't going to stay at 54 forever. 54 with how front-loaded 54 is, I could see a handful of those guys going to 60. I thought Suarez got screwed also, but in actuality, Navarrete was beating him up pretty bad until... yeah, Navarrete was winning early rounds, but in traditional Navarrete fashion, man, he just has a penchant for making fights ugly. That awkward style, he always allows his opponents to come back, make it closer than it should be. That's why he's a fan favorite, though. There's a term for Navarrete here in Australia called a larrikin. So we know that his nickname is Vaquero, cowboy. But in Australia, a term for sort of a wild man, a guy who, you can't hold down, you can't control, a social sort of wild man. It's called a larrikin, and that's exactly how Navarrete fights as well. Crazy. OSUD versus Texas quarterback is also nice. Buckeyes, man, we're putting up at least 40 on Texas. Let's go. Nav is the ultimate way bully. Best days were at 22. Yeah, and I think a guy like Navarrete, who is obviously super awkward, not technically sound at all, we see him struggle the older he's gotten. Lifestyle habits, lack of technique, things that he was able to get away with when he was younger. He's not getting away with them. I think we're, just what I always say, just enjoy Navarrete now, because guys like that are great for the sport. But I bet he only has a few more fights, you'd have to think. That's the word on the street that he's moving up. It's assumed he's having weight issues. I mean, he's a big boy. Just watching that size difference, just how much bigger he was against Edward Vasquez was insane. How he just dismantled Edward Vasquez was so impressive, too. Ramos already went up in weight before. Is he staying? But did he do the whole I'm moving to 60, I'm staying at 60 thing? I'm leaving 54, no more fights? I didn't hear that. I love Janabek. He's so nasty. Nah, Diaz's best days were at 26. Sugar going to run through him. Last thing Diaz deserves is 130 title shot. I'm high. TJC, maybe I'm high on Sugar Nunez. I don't know if it's because that last visit to Japan won me a bunch of money. I thought the odds were crazy against Rikishi. And some of the, Japanese fighters, big records. I love how they bring a lot of Mexicans over to Japan. But I thought that was an easy steal for us. It was a close fight. It was a competitive fight. It was good to see Sugar Nunez get his flowers, especially with Kakashi openly saying he didn't want that fight due to money. Ramos should have stayed at 54. I talk a lot of shit about that division. Eister doesn't. Eister's not a fan of 54. Eister, you're a fan of 68, aren't you? Pedro Adames is talking about staging a fight at DR because of the Janibek negotiations. Huh. Yeah, Adames is a tough out for anyone at 60. He came up from 47. So I don't see Adames going past 60. Navarrete also quit. I like Ramos at 60. He was too big for 54. Jesus is still young, isn't he? How old is he? Isn't Jesus only like 24? Jesus Ramos is only 24, mate. That's insane. He hasn't even gotten started yet. Hopefully, I want to see him in big fights, man. I'm high on Jesus Ramos. We want to see him in big fights, though, mate. 60 has Janibek, Adames, Yoyos, Daniel McKenna. Yeah, Aaron McKenna's a beast, man. Aaron McKenna won us a lot of money against Smith. Beefy. Ramos Jr. top 5 at 60 off rip. I don't disagree. I don't disagree, actually. Do you see Billy Martinez as a pick'em? Yeah, TJ, that's a good chat to have. Billy versus Martinez. Off top, how do you see that one going? I do have a lean in that fight, though. $154 is... I'm a fan of 54, TJ, but David Eister will argue on that. So people, you favor Lester over Mabili? It'll be a great profile. It's a great profile for both guys, considering not quite. I mean, Lester is. I mean, Christian, due to his most recent performance, is getting there more on an international household names basis. But this is a great matchup between two guys who are super ultra talented. True blue boxing fans know these guys, obviously, but we need one of these guys could be a star. I mean, Lester gets his flowers for, his camp where he fights out of, Bomac, etc. Mabili beats Martinez by decision. Interesting. You see that going to decision. But Billy's only won 5 times on the scorecards. So you're saying that he goes from a knockout artist, basically. Mabili has an 83% career knockout to win ratio. So you're saying he just overnight kind of goes from a knockout artist to a guy who beats Lester Martinez, who's also a knockout artist. Lester's 16 knockouts, 84% career knockout to win ratio. He's 5'11". Mabili's 5'8". You think that Mabili has the acumen to beat Lester on the scorecards? I don't know, man. I would actually say, yeah, that fight's in paper. That fight's in Vegas. Dude, they're fighting at the football stadium. That's on the... Nice. That's on the undercard of Bud... Dude, this fight's getting slept on. That's on the undercard of Bud Canelo. Don't think Ramos really lost to Lubin. Lubin also got a fight. Virgil almost done. I hope we see Lubin fight. I know people talk trash about Erickson Lubin. Erickson Lubin, great amateur, only 29 years old. I feel his career was kind of mishandled early. I don't think it's a big surprise or a shocking statement to say that he took that Charlo fight a bit too soon. I actually think he was coming on against Seb Fundora. Granted, his face didn't look like it, and they stopped the fight due to what his face was looking like. But Lubin was starting to hold his ground against Seb. I like Lubin. I'm not going to say I'm going to take Lubin against Virgil because Virgil is one of my favorite guys. But, how many title eliminators has Lubin been in without fighting for a world title? Another one. It's insane. Lubin's only 29. He's like a 50-year-old, 29-year-old. More Johnny, did you see Paro? Yeah, we announced Paro announced his move up to 47 2 weeks ago on our live stream when we were live streaming the fights in Queensland. I like Paro at 47. I got to be honest with you. I think he can make noise there as well. I think they can make Liam Paro versus Raleigh Romero right now, and I would take Liam to become a 2 division world champ. I think Mabili gonna work the body more. TJ Liam Paro ducked Delgado. Lindolfo's my guy, dude. We covered Lindolfo in his last fight against Elvis Rodriguez. That was a good fight. Lindolfo, man, he got some skill. I like both of those guys. I like Liam and Delgado. I'm leaning towards Martinez. Ramos actually blew that fight. Brandon Adams rematch is a good fight. Brandon Adams, about time, man. Brandon Adams hasn't fought in like 13 years. TJ Ramos definitely blew that fight. I think Paro would be the best contender at 47. Man, I think a guy like Paro, who, former champion at 40, who, left Matchroom to go to No Limit. The Rose Brothers, the promotional company down here in Australia who backs Tim Tszyu. I think that the way the Rose Brothers operates, Paro probably saw a quicker path at 47. Probably, I think, I think he should take a fight before fighting for the title, but I think he would compete well against a couple of the I mean, who do we got at 47? Since Boots left, we got Barrios. I would take Paro over Barrios. I think Liam would beat Barrios. Both of them got chin issues. Muscle Brown in the house tapping in. Muscles, mate. Thank God you didn't listen to my locks on the UFC, dude. We got toasted. We got toasted. But and Muscles, thank God you're not in Australia, because that draw would have toasted you. Punk ass Omar Trinidad was like, you know what? I did have Omar edging that fight out, but that Venezuelan was fucking. Let's see the urine tests. I want to see some piss results for the Venezuelan. That endurance he had was insane. I take Liam beating everyone at 47. Dude, I think Liam versus Norman Jr. would be a closer fight than you think. That's a hell of a fight week. Inoue MJ. Great fight card. Billy Martinez winner versus Bektamir. Finally caught the live. Rod Rivas in the house. Pedro, that could be true. 47 is dead. Afro Jam. Brandon Adams lost in the final OTX tournament last year. Katsarakis. Okay. I feel like I didn't catch that fight. Good call. Katsarakis is a tough out. Boacek outworks Adams. We'll see how. I like to think Boacek's last fight against Michael Fox, how he looked. It kind of, obviously, it wasn't as offensively void as Canelo versus Skull. But to me, Boacek, if you're Sergey Boacek, how do you get up for that fight against Michael Fox? So almost to me, it looked like, I think he weighed in at 158? It looked like he just was like, let me get some rounds in, let me stay busy. I expect him to look way better in his next fight. Christian Hernandez, anyone got paid on DraftKings? Still, see, you boys still aren't getting paid on that Ford fight, which is insane. Boston Adams always comes with it. Muscle Brown, you gotta love the push. I know. I just changed all my bets from sports bet to Bet365 for the push on the draw. Do you think Paro beats Polanco? Good fight. I need to see more from Rohan. I know Rohan Polanco's coach is in this stream. Isn't Coach Bermudez? If you're on the stream, doesn't Coach Bermudez on our chat coach Rohan? I think so. Paro ain't even had a fight. I know. We'll hype TJ. We be hyping Paro up though, boy. Polanco beats Paro. Huge division jump. I want to see Polanco versus Tiger. Okay, I like it. Ohio boy in the house, Northeast Ohio. Tiger Johnson. How come Albert Bell doesn't get any fights either? We got a couple Ohio boys with some good records, amateur pedigree that Top Rank just shelved. Johnny, you forgot that Venezuelan. He had his wedding ring with him. Did he? I didn't know that. Well, he did, mate. That Venezuelan fought like he wanted to get some cut up. He had some cut up in the crowd. He's like, man, I'm about to put on a performance. It's like that bird. If you look in the Amazon, the birds of paradise, their mating rituals. You see even peacocks. You think to the eye, to the person who might not be too well-versed on zoology, might look at the peacock or the birds of paradise as being female birds, the colorful birds. Those are the males. The birds with all the flowers, the floral patterns, those are males trying to mate. That's what the Venezuelan was doing. If I would have known that, I maybe would have sprinkled something on him. Yeah, I know Muscles is up on Polanco. Yeah, but did he look that great in his last fight? Polanco, see, that's what I'm gonna say, TJ. He didn't look that great in his last fight, though. Martinez versus Mabili. I don't like Tiger Johnson. I thought Tiger looked good in the fight before his last fight. He's only had 2 fights at 47. Give him time. I can see Polanco beating the other champs at 47. So Raleigh and Barrios. I think people sleep on Raleigh, mate. And Barrios, depending on the matchup and the styles, Mario Barrios will fight a little bit differently. He's had some really down. I just can't get past that fight. The draw he had on the Tyson Paul undercard, wasn't that against not Abel Mendoza. The kid who beat Omar Figueroa a couple years ago. The reason why I don't bet on the Figueroa brothers. Who do you think Virgil Ortiz versus Lou? Bell versus Kid Austin's a good fight. I know. I want to see Albert Bell can't get fights. Tiger's been letting you down. Tiger's undefeated. How's Tiger been letting you down? He hasn't lost. One of the most underrated contenders, Nick Flaz, Puerto Rico in the house. Nick Flaz is always a fun guy. People judge Nick Flaz because he, when you're a younger fighter, I think he's in his early 30s now, but you have to take fights. You have to take big fights when you're younger, especially if you have a little buzz on you. In a different trajectory as some other young contenders or prospects who have proper management. And Flaz has always been one of these guys who just always put his hand up, especially younger in his career. We just saw him fight maybe a couple months ago. He looked great. His debut was very solid. Muscle Brown, you're right, Jay. Polanco didn't look good. Because Muscles, didn't you take Polanco by stoppage in his last fight? And he didn't get it done? He looked like he was just going through the gears. He looked like, he could have got it done early and then kind of made a choice and was like, I'm just going to win this by decision, which happens. Tiger looked great. Yeah, Tiger's 2-0 since he went to 47. Abel Ramos. Yeah, that's it, Afro. Always got my back. Stop Kendo Tremendo. Sims Jr. struggled. Kendo Tremendo, too. Castaneda. Journeyman, but tough fighter. Flaz is cussing out and calling out Polanco. I want to see Nick Flaz get another big fight, mate. I'm here for it. He's a veteran now. Nick Flaz is seasoned now. Mar, TJ looks like Amber Bautista stepping up for Claggett. I think that's official, Mar. Oh, yeah, I guess Tito Mercado. We wanted Mercado to step up, but I guess he hasn't recovered from that shoulder. Randvar says, Tiger been making me sweat a lot, though. He's had some close decisions. Kind of his style, Randvar. Kind of his style. Matchmaking will be important right now. I think he's in his mid to late 20s now. The time is now. We're going to see Tiger to see if he's legit. I think he, from a skill set, he has it. We'll see if the power carries. We'll see if he sits down on his shots. People want to see him punch a little bit more. Norman Jr. was also only 22. I'm still... See, I would say, TJ, if you take Norman Jr. just his last 3, obviously against Gio, and then Cuevas, and Jin Sasaki, 3 names not jumping off the paper, but he goes into the Gio fight as the underdog based off of what Gio looked like against Rocha. Against Derek Cuevas, all the boys in the gyms, all the guys on punk-ass the internet, a lot of the boys from Philly were saying that Cuevas was going to be the big puncher. I think nobody had stopped Cuevas up until that point, and Norman stopped him. And then Sasaki had that juicy, 26-1 record. I think Sasaki's only loss was to Hiroka. And people were saying it was because Sasaki was drained at 40. I think he got stopped against Hiroka at 40. And so some of the boys were even taking Sasaki to beat Norman, which I wasn't one of them. I think Norman's, he's young, 24. Up until Xander, he was the youngest male champ. I think he's trending in the right direction. So I'm sold on Norman in a sense of how he showed us still at young age leveling up. He hasn't stayed stagnant. He's, to an extent, I like how he's tightened up a little bit with his defense. using his sort of framing, doesn't really drop his hands as much in the pocket. Early on, he has been known to trade and get hit with shots he shouldn't get hit with. But as you grow in your career, especially him being a world champion now, those are the same things that people tend to sort of adore you for. I mean, fun fight style. I mean, I think he beats Raleigh at 47. I think he beats Barrios at 47. He's not that big, 5'8". You probably got to think that he probably stays at 47. I don't know. I like his relationship with his pops. I like his devotion to the game. I like the idea that he traveled to Japan to fight. There's a lot of boxes that Brian Norman Jr. ticks for me personally, that actually boxes that come outside of the ring. I like the devotion to the game, his psychology, his mindset. He reminds me of a modern version of Joe Frazier, mate. He does. Even though he kind of, not even talking optically, just how he punches that lead hook. So I'm high on Brian Norman Jr. I got to be honest. Nick Flash stopped that dude who went the distance with Jesus. I picked Ortiz to beat Loma. I had Ortiz up after 8, gassed out late. I also picked Claggett. See, because the fight got called, in my film breakdown, man, I was going to say Steve Claggett versus Jermaine was a 50-50. I actually like Claggett against Teo. I like how he boxed Teofimo Lopez. Granted, that was wasn't that at the Caribe Royale in Florida? Teofimo Lopez wasn't up for that fight, but Claggett, if you're not up for that Claggett pressure forward style in your face the entire time, he's gonna make your night rough, dude. That's why I like watching Claggett box. You got to bring your lunch with that guy. No, Ortiz and Claggett is off. Teo was forced to throw Atlanta all-time personal record to keep Claggett off. Teo's face was the. That's what I mean. It was TJ. I think that fight was closer than the scorecard suggested. Then again, I thought Jermaine Ortiz versus Teo was closer than the scorecard suggested too. I thought Jermaine Ortiz, fared pretty well against Teofimo. Philly fans are Norman's biggest haters. Was 10. It's canceled now. Damn. Sky Nicholson bet. Victor, I mean, with Sky, Victor Vallejo right now at the stage of the game, she's always going to be a big favorite on the money line. So we'll wait until the weekend. We got fights, Victor, this Wednesday in Australia, Tuesday in America. So I'm going to give you some, we got Nikita Zhu fighting and Michael Zarafa fighting. You like Norman, but Haney's your guy. He's big in terms of his back and frame, just not his height. TJ, I hear you, John. I really want to see Same. TJ, do you think Norman stays at 47? Do you think you see him moving to 54 ever? Haney is a boxer. David Adelier looked bad against Phil. Well, Victor, we picked Hrgovic to win on the money line, and we picked Hrgovic to win by decision. And I hit a plus 184 on Adelier to be knocked down. So I won money on that fight. Norman, yeah. TJ, that's a business decision, isn't it? I think that's a wise business decision. I just think a 24-year-old Norman wouldn't be able to deal with this version of Boots. This is peak Boots right now. This is why we want to see him active. We are witnessing. He's 28 now, I think. We got him for about a couple years. We got Boots for a couple years. His prime. We're gonna see if he's the real deal. I want to see Boots versus Virgil. I want to see Boots versus all the champions at 54. I want to see Boots versus Seb. We want to see big fights. They're talking about Boots versus Conwell. Anybody hear that? Anybody hear that Charles Conwell is close to signing that Boots fight? Hrgovic has evolved in a younger version of Joyce. He keeps winning, though. He's devolved into I mean, Joyce is just a contradiction, man. You never know what. Joyce is a head scratcher. TJ Moore, that was also Polanco's first real fight. Guys, make sure you're liking this video. This is my first live stream of the day. It's my Monday morning. It's your Sunday afternoon. I'm going to be going live one more time later on today. This is a work day for me, so I got some clients downstairs at the gym. I'm going to stay on for a little bit longer. We're already over an hour. This live stream's popping. I appreciate you, boys. Norman isn't a huge 47. He's kind of an in-betweener. Walsh versus Vargas Jr. is another good fight. Yeah. Are you boys sold on Callum Walsh? Maybe it's my own disdain for Dana White, but I don't like manufacture. I mean, we get it in boxing, but like to say, there's one thing with having a boxing manufactured star. There's another thing with having Dana White manufacture a star in boxing and give him his own promotion. And it just Callum Walsh doesn't sit right with me. Pedro says instead we get boots versus Lima. I mean, Lima is the IBO champ. People, he's not a household name. Boots versus Lima. Yeah, I know. It's an eliminator. I know. I'm just trying to be an optimist here, guys. Dude, Bud jumped into... I know. People don't understand. People judge Madrimov on what? 10, 11 pro fights. Madrimov was a world champion at 54. Madrimov's style is a goddamn nightmare. Madrimov's, take what you want. Bunch of amateur fights. What, over 300? His size, that awkwardness... I thought, Madrimov gave Bud a run for his money. He just wasted so much in that fight in terms of his feints. Madrimov got caught a lot just thinking, but that style is a nightmare. It's actually this. You can't tell me. I'm sold on Walsh for now because I think Dana and the boys are giving him favorable. Yeah, we're kind of agreeing on the same thing there. I was ringside versus Callum versus Villarreal. Callum was dropped and ref didn't call it. He argued. Wow. I want to rewatch that. Lima and Katz were good opponents. They're just not well known. Yeah, boys. Nice, man. Guys, I got to wrap it up. It's 70 minutes in. Stay tuned. I got the Nikita Zoo fight coming up. I'm going to break down Michael Zarafa Wednesday night in Sydney, Australia. I'll be ringside to those fights. Jazzy Parr's fighting on that card. John Wayne Parr's daughter. She's 21. She's already in the top 20 worldwide rankings. I think she's fighting at 118, maybe 115. And then we have a lot. It's a huge fight week. So stay tuned to the channel. I appreciate the support. Subscribe if you have